Admiral Kehoe stood in the command center of Earth Defense Station Alpha. The metal walls around him hummed with activity as hundreds of officers worked at their stations. Blue lights flickered across computer screens showing star maps and fleet positions. Outside the large windows, Earth hung like a blue marble in the darkness of space. Kehoe was 52 years old with gray streaks in his black hair. He had fought in 3 wars before aliens ever contacted Earth. Today his hands were steady as he read the message that would change everything. The Galactic Dominion wanted Earth to surrender. The message had arrived on all human communication channels at the same time. It was simple and direct. The Dominion gave humanity 72 hours to submit to their rule or face complete destruction. They would become slaves like every other species in the galaxy. Commander So-Min walked up to Kehoe holding a data pad. She was 38 years old and had been studying alien communications for 5 years. Her team worked day and night to understand how the Dominion operated. What she had discovered made her both angry and excited. "Admiral, you need to see this," So-Min said. She activated a holographic display showing the Dominion fleet structure. "We intercepted their internal military reports. They have assigned exactly 300 ships to conquer Earth." Kehoe raised an eyebrow. 300 ships sounded like a lot until So-Min showed him the next number. "Sir, the Dominion has a total fleet of over 1 million vessels. They are sending less than 1% of their forces to defeat us." Their high command labeled this mission as Training Exercise Gamma 77. Kehoe laughed, but there was no humor in it. "They think we are that weak?" So-Min nodded. "The fleet commander is someone called Veltar. According to their records, this is his first major command. The Dominion is using us to train their new officers." Captain Tae-Woo entered the command center. He was older than Kehoe at 60 years and walked with a slight limp from an old battle injury. Tae-Woo commanded the orbital defense platforms that protected Earth. He had spent 40 years in space and had seen more combat than most humans alive. "Admiral, our sensors are picking up the Dominion scout ships," Tae-Woo said. 12 vessels just dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of our solar system. They are moving toward Earth in standard formation. Kehoe walked to the main display screen. It showed the solar system with small red dots representing the alien ships. They moved in a perfect straight line toward Earth. Their formation was neat and organized like ships in a parade. "Look at how they fly," Kehoe said to his officers. "Everything in perfect order. No variation. No creativity." So-Min pulled up another display showing Dominion military tactics. "Sir, we have studied their battle records from other conquered worlds. The Dominion always uses the same strategy. They show up with overwhelming force and demand surrender. Most species give up immediately when they see the size of the fleet." "What about species that fight back?" asked Tae-Woo. "The Dominion uses standard bombardment patterns," So-Min explained. "They target military installations first, then major cities, then industrial centers. They follow the same sequence every time. Their tactical computers run the same programs for every battle." Kehoe studied the alien approach vector. The Dominion ships were moving at a steady speed directly toward Earth. They made no attempt to scout the outer planets or check for hidden defenses. They acted like they were approaching a defenseless world. "Have they made any attempt to communicate?" Kehoe asked. "Just the surrender demand," So-Min replied. "No requests for information about our technology or military capabilities. No diplomatic contact. They seem to assume they already know everything about us." Lieutenant Hye-Jin entered the command center carrying flight plans. She was 28 years old and one of Earth's best fighter pilots. Her small frame hid incredible reflexes and tactical instincts. She commanded Fighter Squadron Alpha, the most elite unit in the Earth Defense Force. "Admiral, my pilots are ready," Hye-Jin said. "We have studied the alien ship designs from the reconnaissance data. Their vessels are large and heavily armored but slow to maneuver. Our fighters should be able to run circles around them." Kehoe looked at the young pilot. "What makes you so confident?" "Sir, we have been fighting each other for thousands of years," Hye-Jin replied. "Humans invented air combat, space warfare, and tactical formation flying. These aliens have been conquering species that never developed serious military technology. They have never fought someone who knows how to fight back." Tae-Woo nodded in agreement. "Admiral, I have reviewed their ship specifications from the intercepted data. The Dominion builds their vessels for intimidation and overwhelming firepower, but they are not designed for actual combat against a prepared enemy." "Explain," Kehoe said. "Their weapons are powerful but have slow tracking systems," Tae-Woo continued. Their armor is thick, but they have no point defense systems. Their ships are built to destroy cities and orbital stations, not to fight other warships. So Min added more information from her intelligence reports. The Dominion has conquered 147 different species over the past 1,000 years. But sir, not one of those species had developed faster than light travel on their own. Every conquest was of a planet-bound civilization. Kehoe realized what this meant. The Dominion had spent centuries defeating species that were essentially defenseless. They had never encountered an enemy with advanced technology and military experience. How long until the main Dominion fleet arrives? Kehoe asked. Based on their transmission timing, approximately 18 hours, So Min replied. Kehoe walked to the center of the command room where all his officers could see him. The activity around them continued as hundreds of personnel prepared Earth's defenses. Attention, everyone, Kehoe said in a clear voice. The Dominion thinks they are dealing with a primitive species. They believe 300 ships and some new officers can conquer Earth in a training exercise. The room became quiet as everyone listened. They do not know that humans have been preparing for this moment since first contact 20 years ago. They do not know that we have studied every piece of alien technology we could find. They do not know that Earth Defense Command has run 10,000 combat simulations. Kehoe paused and looked around the room at faces filled with determination. Most importantly, they do not know that humans never surrender without a fight. We have been fighting wars against each other for our entire history. We know tactics they have never seen. We have weapons they cannot predict. We have the most important advantage of all. What is that, sir? Asked Hyejin. Kehoe smiled for the first time that day. They think this is a training exercise. For us, this is survival. And humans fight differently when their survival is threatened. The command center erupted in activity as Earth prepared for its first real test against an alien enemy. None of them knew they were about to teach the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. Fleet Commander Veltar sat in his command chair aboard the Dominion flagship Eternal Victory. The bridge around him was pristine white with glowing blue control panels. His officers moved with practiced efficiency, following procedures they had memorized from the academy. Everything proceeded exactly as their training manuals required. Veltar was young for a fleet commander at only 130 years old. This was his first major assignment after graduating from the Dominion War College. His instructors had chosen the Earth conquest as his graduation exercise because it seemed so simple. One primitive world with basic technology should be easy for any competent officer to handle. The 300 ships under his command flew in perfect formation toward Earth. Each vessel maintained precise distance from its neighbors. Their approach speed never varied. The formation looked beautiful and intimidating, just as Dominion doctrine intended. Commander, we are receiving a transmission from the human homeworld, reported his communications officer. Put it on the main screen, Veltar ordered. Admiral Kehoe appeared on the display. He stood in what looked like a military command center, with humans working at various stations behind him. Kehoe wore a simple gray uniform with no decorations except rank insignia. I am Admiral Kehoe of the Earth Defense Force, the human said. You have entered our solar system without permission and threatened our world. You have one opportunity to turn around and leave peacefully. Veltar laughed. This primitive creature was trying to threaten the Dominion. It was exactly the kind of foolish bravery his instructors had warned about from species that did not understand their place in the galaxy. Human, I am Fleet Commander Veltar of the Galactic Dominion, he replied. Your world will surrender immediately or face complete destruction. You cannot resist our superior technology and overwhelming force. Kehoe showed no fear on his face. Commander, you should know that humanity has been preparing for this moment for 20 years. We know about your empire and your methods. We also know you have sent only a training fleet to conquer us. Veltar felt surprised. How did these primitives know about Dominion military organization? His instructors had assured him that recently contacted species never understood galactic politics or military structure. Your knowledge changes nothing, Veltar said. Even our training fleet is more than sufficient to conquer your single world. Surrender now and your species will be given useful work in our empire. Kehoe smiled, but his eyes remained hard. Commander, there is something you should know about humans before you attack us. What is that? We have been fighting wars among ourselves for thousands of years. Every military tactic you know we invented. Every strategy in your books we wrote first. Every mistake you might make we have already made and learned from. Veltar cut the transmission. These humans talk too much. It was time to demonstrate Dominion superiority and complete this training exercise. Meanwhile, in Earth orbit, Lieutenant Hyejin sat in the cockpit of her fighter spacecraft. Around her, 200 other small human fighters waited in hidden positions behind asteroids and space debris. Unlike the Dominion's large warships, human fighters were tiny, fast, and nearly invisible to enemy sensors. All squadrons report ready, Hyejin said into her communication system. Her fighter was only 20 meters long but packed with weapons and advanced engines. Human engineers had designed it specifically for combat against larger vessels. Every system focused on speed, maneuverability, and hitting power. Squadron Alpha, remember the plan, she continued. Stay hidden until they commit to their attack run. Then we hit them from 6 different directions simultaneously. The human pilots had studied Dominion tactics for months. The aliens always approached in the same formation and used the same attack patterns. They relied on their ship's heavy armor and powerful weapons to overwhelm any resistance. But humans had learned to fight differently. Captain Taewoo watched from Defense Station Alpha as the Dominion fleet entered Earth's outer atmosphere. The alien ships were massive, each one over a kilometer long with thick armor plating. Their weapons could probably destroy entire cities with single shots. Admiral, the enemy fleet is beginning their attack approach, Taewoo reported to Kehoe. Are our fighters in position? Kehoe asked. Yes, sir. All squadrons are hidden and ready. The Dominion fleet moved toward Earth's major cities exactly as their doctrine required. They would demonstrate overwhelming force, destroy a few military targets, and demand surrender. It had worked on 147 worlds before. Veltar watched his tactical display with satisfaction. Earth's orbital defenses were minimal compared to what the Dominion usually faced. A few space stations and some primitive satellites. The humans had no fleet of warships waiting to meet his forces. Begin the demonstration bombardment, Veltar ordered. Target their military installations and orbital platforms. His ships opened fire with massive energy weapons. Beams of destructive force lanced toward Earth's defenses. Several human space stations exploded in brilliant flashes of light and debris. Sir, we are detecting small spacecraft launching from various positions around the planet, his sensor officer reported. Veltar looked at his display. Hundreds of tiny ships were emerging from hidden positions throughout Earth's orbital space. They were too small to be proper warships. Probably civilian craft trying to evacuate. Ignore them, Veltar said. Continue the bombardment. That was his first mistake. Ye-Jin led her fighter squadron in a high-speed attack run toward the Dominion flagship. Her small craft moved at incredible speed, twisting and turning in patterns no large warship could follow. The alien point defense systems tried to track her fighters but could not keep up with their erratic movements. All squadrons, attack pattern Delta, she ordered. The human fighters struck from every direction at once. They did not try to fight the Dominion ships head-to-head. Instead, they used hit-and-run tactics, striking at weapon systems and engine compartments before darting away. Veltar watched in growing alarm as his perfectly organized fleet came under attack by what looked like a swarm of angry insects. The small human fighters moved too fast for his heavy weapons to target. They struck his ships and disappeared before his gunners could respond. Sir, we are taking damage across the entire fleet, his tactical officer reported. These small craft are targeting our weapon systems and engines specifically. How is that possible? Veltar demanded. Our intelligence report said humans had no advanced military technology. More human fighters appeared from hidden positions throughout the solar system. They had been waiting behind moons, asteroids, and space debris. Now they converged on the Dominion fleet from dozens of different angles. The aliens found themselves fighting a completely different kind of battle than anything in their training manuals. Instead of facing enemy warships in organized formations, they were being attacked by hundreds of small, fast targets that refused to fight properly. Sir, the human fighters are not following standard combat doctrine, his weapons officer said. They attack and retreat randomly. Our tactical computers cannot predict their movements. Veltar realized he was losing control of the battle. His ships were designed to fight other large vessels, not swarms of small fighters. The humans were using tactics no civilized species had ever employed. All ships, fall back to defensive formation, he ordered. But as his fleet tried to regroup, More human fighters appeared from new directions. They had been hiding throughout Earth's solar system, waiting for exactly this moment. Captain Taewoo smiled as he watched the battle unfold on his tactical displays. The Dominion had expected to fight a defensive battle against fixed positions. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by mobile enemies who attacked from everywhere and nowhere. "Admiral, the alien fleet is trying to retreat," he reported to Kehoe. "Let some of them go," Kehoe replied. "We want survivors to report what happened here." By the end of the first battle, 40% of Veltar's training fleet was destroyed or severely damaged. His flagship limped away from Earth with its engines barely functioning and half its weapon systems offline. As the surviving Dominion ships fled toward the edge of the solar system, Veltar sent his final transmission to Dominion High Command. "Request immediate reinforcements. These humans do not fight like anything in our databases. They use tactics we have never encountered. This is not a training exercise anymore." In Earth orbit, the human fighters regrouped around their hidden bases. They had won the first battle, but everyone knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was about to learn that humans fought very differently than any species the Dominion had ever conquered. War Marshal Zoran stood in the Great War Chamber of Dominion Central Command. The room stretched for hundreds of meters with holographic displays showing every fleet position across the galaxy. Red warning lights flashed as urgent reports streamed in from the Sol system. Zoran was ancient even by Dominion standards at over 800 years old. His skin had the pale blue tint of his species and his eyes glowed with cold intelligence. He had commanded Dominion forces for 3 centuries and conquered 40 star systems personally. No enemy had ever embarrassed him the way these humans just had. The surviving ships from Veltar's fleet had limped back to the nearest Dominion base. Their reports made no sense according to everything the Dominion knew about warfare. A primitive species had defeated superior technology using tactics that violated all accepted military doctrine. "How many ships did we lose?" Zoran asked his staff. 120 vessels destroyed, sir," replied his intelligence officer. "Another 60 ships severely damaged and unable to fight. The humans used small fighter craft and coordinated swarm attacks." Zoran studied the battle reports. The humans had hidden their forces throughout their solar system and attacked from multiple directions simultaneously. They used hit-and-run tactics instead of proper formation combat. Their fighters moved in unpredictable patterns that Dominion targeting systems could not track. "This is unacceptable," Zoran said. "One backward planet has humiliated the greatest military force in the galaxy. I want 50,000 ships assembled for the next attack." His staff exchanged worried glances. 50,000 ships represented 5% of the entire Dominion fleet. It was enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. "Sir, perhaps that is excessive for one primitive world," his tactical advisor suggested carefully. Zoran's eyes flashed with anger. "These humans destroyed a Dominion fleet. They must be completely eliminated as an example to other species. No one defies the Dominion and lives." Meanwhile, on Earth, Major Do-hyun prepared for the most dangerous mission of his life. He commanded Earth's Special Operations Division, a unit trained for deep space reconnaissance and sabotage. Intelligence reports showed the Dominion was preparing a massive response to their defeat. Do-hyun was 35 years old, with the lean build of someone who spent his life training for combat. His team consisted of 12 specialists, each an expert in alien technology and covert operations. They would use captured Dominion ships to infiltrate enemy space and gather intelligence. "Our mission is simple," Do-hyun told his team as they prepared their equipment. "We need to know what the Dominion is planning and how many ships they are sending. Earth Defense Command needs accurate numbers to prepare our defenses." The team had spent months learning to operate captured Dominion technology. The alien ships were advanced, but built for simple operation by species with limited creativity. Human engineers had quickly figured out how to modify the systems for better performance. Sergeant Yoon-ah checked her equipment one final time. She was the team's technology specialist and could hack any Dominion computer system they had encountered. Her job was to penetrate enemy databases and download military intelligence. "Major, the captured scout ship is ready for departure," she reported. "We have modified the engines for higher speed and installed better weapon systems." Do-hyun nodded. "Remember, we are not looking for a fight. Get in, gather intelligence, and get out. Earth needs to know what is coming." The modified Dominion scout ship launched from a hidden base on the far side of Earth's moon. It looked exactly like any other Dominion vessel, but now contained human improvements that made it faster and more capable than the original design. 3 days later, Do-hyun's team reached the edge of Dominion space. What they found there made them realize the true scale of the threat facing Earth. "Major, you need to see this," Yuna said from her sensor station. "I am detecting massive fleet movements throughout this entire sector." Do-hyun looked at the tactical display. Thousands of Dominion warships were converging on staging areas near the border with human space. Each ship was larger and more heavily armed than anything they had seen in Veltar's training fleet. "How many ships are we looking at?" Do-hyun asked. "Conservative estimate 45,000 vessels," Yuna replied. "Sir, this is not another training exercise. The Dominion is sending their real military." The team spent the next week infiltrating Dominion bases and communication networks. What they learned changed their understanding of both the enemy and the galaxy itself. Dr. Yoon Seo worked in her laboratory deep beneath Earth Defense Command headquarters. She was the planet's leading expert on alien biology and had been studying captured Dominion soldiers for months. Her discoveries were disturbing and encouraging at the same time. Yoon Seo was 42 years old with the intense focus of someone who loved solving complex puzzles. She had spent her career studying how different species evolved and adapted to their environments. The Dominion specimens revealed something unprecedented in galactic history. "Admiral, I need to brief you on my findings," Yoon Seo said as Kiho entered her laboratory. The room was filled with advanced medical equipment and computer displays showing genetic analysis data. In sealed chambers, several captured Dominion soldiers remained unconscious under medical supervision. "What have you discovered, Doctor?" Kiho asked. "Sir, the Dominion species has been artificially modified," Yoon Seo explained. "Their genetic structure shows evidence of deliberate engineering over millions of years. Someone has been breeding them for specific traits." "What kind of traits?" Yoon Seo activated a holographic display showing Dominion brain structure. "Obedience, conformity, and rigid thinking patterns. Sir, these beings are physically incapable of creative thought or independent action. They can only follow established procedures and protocols." Kiho realized the implications immediately. They cannot adapt to unexpected situations. Exactly. The Dominion has conquered so many species because they overwhelm primitive civilizations with superior technology and numbers. But they have never faced an enemy that could think creatively or develop new tactics during combat. This explained why the human fighter swarms had been so effective. The Dominion tactical computers could not predict or counter attacks that did not follow established patterns. Back in Dominion space, Do-hyun's team made an even more important discovery. While infiltrating a Dominion communications center, they intercepted internal reports from conquered worlds throughout the galaxy. "Major, look at this," Yuna said excitedly. "The Dominion rules through fear and overwhelming force, but their subject species are kept deliberately weak. No conquered world is allowed to develop advanced military technology or strategic thinking." Do-hyun studied the reports. The Dominion maintained control by ensuring that no subject species could threaten them. They suppressed technological development and eliminated any leaders who showed independence or creativity. "This means they have never fought a real war," Do-hyun realized. "Every conquest has been against defenseless enemies." The team also discovered that the Dominion's massive fleet was impressive, but had serious weaknesses. Their ships were built for intimidation and bombardment of planetary targets, not for combat against mobile enemies. They had powerful weapons but poor maneuverability and limited point defense systems. Most importantly, they learned that Dominion officers were trained to follow rigid procedures. When something unexpected happened, they had no protocols for adaptation or improvisation. Captain Jae-sung prepared the defenses of Mars colony as reports came in about the approaching Dominion fleet. Mars had been humanity's first major colony outside Earth and now housed over 2 million people. It would be the Dominion's first major target after Earth itself. Jae-sung was a veteran of the asteroid mining wars and understood defensive tactics better than most officers. He had spent months turning Mars into a fortress using lessons learned from human military history. "Colonel Minho, report on defensive preparations," Jae-sung ordered. "Sir, we have established defensive positions throughout the canyon systems," Minho replied. "Mobile artillery units are hidden in caves and underground bunkers." If the Dominion tries to occupy Mars, they will face guerrilla warfare in terrain that favors defenders. The human colonists had spent years building an extensive network of underground facilities connected by hidden tunnels. Mars could be defended even if the Dominion controlled the surface. What about the orbital platforms? Jae-sung asked. Ready, sir. We have learned from Earth's battle and positioned them to support fighter operations rather than engage enemy capital ships directly. As Do-hyun's team returned to Earth with their intelligence, the full scale of the coming conflict became clear. The Dominion was sending 50,000 ships to destroy humanity completely, but humans now understood their enemy's weaknesses and had begun developing new tactics to exploit them. The next battle would determine whether humanity could survive against overwhelming odds, or whether creative thinking and adaptive tactics could defeat superior numbers and technology. Admiral Kehoe studied the intelligence reports in his command center. The Dominion was about to learn that humans had been preparing for exactly this kind of fight their entire history. War was coming to the solar system, and humanity was ready. Admiral Kehoe stood before the assembled officers of Earth Defense Command. The main briefing room was packed with ship commanders, fighter pilots, and special operations teams. Outside the windows, Earth's orbital shipyards worked around the clock building new vessels for the coming battle. The Dominion is sending 50,000 ships to destroy us, Kehoe announced. They believe overwhelming force will succeed where their training fleet failed. They are wrong. The officers listened carefully as Kehoe outlined Operation Wildfire, humanity's first offensive campaign into Dominion space. Instead of waiting for the enemy to attack Earth again, humans would take the war to alien territory. We will not fight this war the way they expect, Kehoe continued. The Dominion thinks we are a primitive species that got lucky in one battle. We are going to show them what humans are really capable of. Colonel Mi-young commanded the assault forces for the first strike. She was 39 years old and had studied every human military campaign in history. Her specialty was psychological warfare, a concept completely unknown to the Dominion. Our target is Dominion Outpost Gamma 7, their main communication hub for this sector, Mi-young explained to her officers. We will not simply destroy it. We will capture it and use it to broadcast a message to the entire Dominion fleet. Commander Woo Jin led the technical team responsible for hijacking alien communication systems. He was a former computer engineer who had spent years studying captured Dominion technology. His team could break into any alien network within hours. What kind of message are we sending? Asked Captain Lee Min, one of Mi-young's squad leaders. Mi-young smiled, but her eyes remained cold. We are going to show them Earth's history. Every war we have fought, every battle we have won, every enemy we have defeated. We want them to understand exactly what kind of species they have chosen to fight. The human fleet departed from hidden bases throughout the solar system. Unlike the Dominion's massive warships, humanity had built smaller, faster vessels designed for hit-and-run attacks. Each ship carried advanced weapon systems reverse-engineered from captured alien technology. 3 days later, the human fleet reached Dominion Outpost Gamma 7. The alien facility was a massive space station protected by 200 warships. It served as the communication center for all Dominion forces in the region. All units begin the attack, Mi-young ordered. The human ships struck from 12 different directions simultaneously. They used the same swarm tactics that had worked against Veltar's fleet, but with improvements based on lessons learned from the first battle. The Dominion defenders had studied the Earth battle reports and expected human fighter swarms. They had prepared new defensive formations and improved their point defense systems. For the first few minutes of the battle, their preparations seemed to be working. Then the humans revealed their new capability. Commander Woo Jin, begin psychological operations, Mi-young ordered. Woo Jin's team had infiltrated the Dominion communication network weeks earlier using captured access codes. Now they activated hidden programs that took control of every screen and speaker in the alien fleet. Suddenly, every Dominion ship began broadcasting footage from Earth's military history. The aliens watched scenes of human warfare spanning thousands of years. Ancient battles with swords and shields, medieval sieges with catapults and arrows, modern conflicts with tanks and aircraft. The message was clear. Humans had been perfecting the art of war for their entire civilization. But the broadcasts did not stop with historical footage. The humans also transmitted recent recordings from Earth's training centers. Dominion officers watched human soldiers practicing combat techniques, testing new weapons and developing tactical innovations. Most disturbing of all, they saw footage of human entertainment. Movies about war, books about military strategy, games that simulated combat. The aliens realized that humans studied warfare even for enjoyment. "What kind of species makes entertainment from violence?" asked the Dominion station commander as he watched human war films on his bridge display. The psychological effect was immediate. Dominion crews had been taught that they were the galaxy's greatest warriors. Now they were seeing evidence that their enemy had spent thousands of years becoming even better at fighting. While the enemy fleet was distracted by the broadcasts, the human ships pressed their attack. They targeted specific systems on each vessel, disabling weapons and engines without destroying the ships completely. General Haywan commanded the technical assault teams that boarded the disabled alien vessels. She was 45 years old and had trained specifically for fighting in alien environments. Her teams carried weapons and equipment designed to work in any atmosphere. "Remember, we want prisoners and intelligence," Haywan told her soldiers as they prepared to board the enemy station. "These aliens have information we need about Dominion fleet movements and battle plans." The boarding operation revealed another human advantage. Dominion soldiers had been trained to fight according to specific procedures and tactics. When humans attacked using methods not covered in their training manuals, the aliens could not adapt. Human soldiers used unpredictable movement patterns, improvised weapons, and creative tactics that confused the enemy completely. Dominion troops would aim where their training said an enemy should be, only to find that human soldiers had moved somewhere unexpected. Within 6 hours, the humans had captured Dominion Outpost Gamma 7 and taken over 3,000 alien prisoners. More importantly, they had gained access to the Dominion's entire communication network for this sector of space. Commander Wu Jin worked frantically to download intelligence data before the Dominion could cut the network connections. What his team discovered changed their understanding of the galactic situation completely. "Colonel Mi-young, you need to see this," Wu Jin said excitedly. "The Dominion is having problems throughout their empire. 7 worlds have started rebellions since news of our victory at Earth spread. The captured data showed that the Dominion's subject species were beginning to question their master's invincibility. If one primitive world could defeat a Dominion fleet, perhaps other species could resist as well." "Sir, there is more," Wu Jin continued. "The Dominion's fleet movements show they are pulling ships from border regions to mass against Earth. This is creating opportunities for other resistance movements." Mi-young realized the strategic implications. By forcing the Dominion to concentrate their forces against humanity, Earth was inadvertently helping liberation movements throughout the galaxy. "Broadcast our next message," Mi-young ordered. Using the captured communication system, the humans transmitted a new signal to every world in Dominion space. The message was simple but revolutionary. Resistance is possible. The Dominion can be defeated. Fight for your freedom. The effect was immediate. Rebellion broke out on 14 more worlds as subject species realized they were not alone in fighting the Dominion. Meanwhile, War Marshal Zoran received reports of the outpost's capture with growing fury. The humans had not simply destroyed a military target. They had turned it into a propaganda victory that was destabilizing the entire empire. "How did they penetrate our communication networks?" Zoran demanded. "Sir, the humans appear to understand our technology better than we anticipated," his intelligence officer replied nervously. "They are modifying our equipment and using it against us." "And these rebellions?" "Spreading, sir. The humans' message is being repeated on dozens of worlds. Our local commanders are requesting reinforcements to maintain control." Zoran realized that this war was becoming something the Dominion had never faced before. The humans were not just fighting for their own survival, they were inspiring other species to fight for freedom. "Accelerate the fleet deployment," Zoran ordered. "I want every available ship sent to destroy Earth immediately. If we do not stop these humans quickly, their ideas will spread throughout the entire galaxy." Back on Earth, Admiral Kehoe reviewed the intelligence gathered from the captured outpost. The Dominion was pulling ships from across their empire to mass against humanity. This created opportunities but also dangers. "How many ships are they sending now?" Kehoe asked Somin. "Conservative estimate 100,000 vessels," Somin replied. "Sir, they are bringing 10% of their entire fleet." Kehoe nodded grimly. "Then we need to reveal our next surprise." For 20 years, while the Dominion had been watching Earth, humanity had been secretly expanding throughout nearby star systems. The aliens thought they were fighting one world, but Earth was just the capital of a growing human confederation. The time had come to show the galaxy what humanity had really been building while the Dominion was not paying attention. The next phase of the war would determine whether human ideas about freedom and independence could survive against the galaxy's most powerful empire. But for the first time since the conflict began, other species were fighting alongside humanity. The Dominion was about to learn that ideas could be more dangerous than any weapon. Supreme Admiral Kethvar stood on the bridge of the massive dreadnought Absolute Dominion as it emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. Behind his flagship, the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. Kethvar was the oldest and most experienced military commander in Dominion history. At over 1,000 years old, he had personally conquered 23 star systems and crushed dozens of rebellions. The Dominion Council had given him unlimited authority to destroy humanity completely. Fleet status report, Kethvar commanded in his deep, authoritative voice. "Sir, all ships have arrived safely," reported his fleet coordinator. 100,000 vessels in total formation. Every ship class from light cruisers to planet-killer dreadnoughts. This represents 30% of our entire military force. Kethvar studied the tactical displays showing his massive fleet. The ships stretched across space for thousands of kilometers in every direction. Each vessel was larger and more heavily armed than anything in the previous attacks. This time there would be no human tricks or surprises. "What is the status of the human defenses?" Kethvar asked. "Sir, our long-range sensors detect approximately 2,000 ships defending Earth. They appear to be using the same small vessel designs that defeated our previous fleets." Kethvar allowed himself a brief smile. 2,000 ships against 100,000. Even if the humans fought with 10 times their previous skill, the numbers made victory impossible. "Begin the final approach," Kethvar ordered. "All ships maintain formation. We will demonstrate to the galaxy what happens to species that defy the Dominion." On Earth, Commander Namsu coordinated the defense from the orbital command center above Mars. He was 36 years old and had spent his entire career preparing for exactly this moment. As the tactical coordinator for all human forces, he could see the true scope of what they faced. "Admiral Kehoe, the enemy fleet has begun moving toward Earth," Namsu reported. "Estimated arrival time 18 hours at current speed." Kehoe joined him at the main tactical display. The screen showed the enormous Dominion fleet as a red mass moving steadily toward the inner solar system. Compared to the alien armada, Earth's visible defenses looked tiny and insignificant. "Are our hidden fleets in position?" Kehoe asked quietly. Namsu checked his secure communications channels. For 20 years, while the Dominion had been watching Earth, humanity had been secretly building and deploying fleets throughout nearby star systems. The aliens had no idea what was really waiting for them. "Sir, all deep space fleets report ready," Namsu replied. "Fleet Alpha is positioned behind Jupiter. Fleet Beta is hiding in the asteroid belt. Fleet Gamma is concealed beyond Neptune. The Dominion has no sensor contact with any of them." Kehoe nodded with satisfaction. The enemy thought they were attacking one isolated world with limited defenses. They were actually entering a carefully prepared trap spanning the entire solar system. Captain Yujin commanded. Deep Space Fleet Alpha from the battlecruiser New Sol. Her fleet consisted of 3,000 ships hidden behind Jupiter's massive bulk, completely invisible to enemy sensors. Unlike Earth's defensive forces, these were full-size warships built specifically for deep space combat. Yujin was 41 years old and had commanded starships for 15 years. She understood that this battle would determine humanity's survival, but she also knew her people were ready. "All ships, maintain communications silence," Yujin ordered. "The enemy must not detect us until we are ready to attack." Her fleet had been waiting for months, supplied by automated cargo ships from hidden bases throughout the outer solar system. Every weapon was loaded, every system was ready. Every crew member knew their role in the coming battle. Meanwhile, Kethvar's massive fleet continued its steady approach toward Earth. The Dominion strategy was simple: advance in overwhelming formation and destroy everything in their path. It had worked against every enemy they had ever faced. "Sir, we are detecting human fighter squadrons launching from Earth and Mars," reported the sensor officer. Kethvar looked at his display with amusement. The humans were sending their small fighters against his massive fleet again. Did they really think the same tactics would work twice? Prepare point defense systems, Kethvar ordered. We have studied their previous attacks and developed countermeasures. Their fighter swarms will be ineffective this time. Lieutenant Haya Jin led Fighter Squadron Alpha toward the approaching enemy fleet. She knew the Dominion had prepared for human fighter tactics, but her orders were not to attack the enemy ships directly. All squadrons, remember the mission, she transmitted to her pilots. We are not trying to damage their fleet. We are providing targeting data for the real attack. The human fighters spread throughout the solar system, using their advanced sensors to map the exact position and configuration of every enemy ship. This information was transmitted to the hidden fleets waiting to spring their trap. As the Dominion fleet entered the inner solar system, Kethvar felt confident about the coming victory. His ships had easily destroyed the few orbital platforms that tried to resist them. Earth's fighter squadrons were maintaining distance and avoiding direct combat. Sir, we are ready to begin planetary bombardment, his weapons officer reported. Excellent. Target all major population centers simultaneously. We will end this rebellion in one decisive strike. That was when humanity revealed its true strength. Now, Admiral Kehoe commanded from Earth Defense Command Commander Namsu activated the hidden fleet beacons. Throughout the solar system, human warships that had been concealed for months suddenly appeared on Dominion sensors. 3,000 ships emerged from behind Jupiter and began a high-speed attack run toward the enemy's rear formations. 2,000 more vessels left hiding places in the asteroid belt and struck the Dominion fleet's flanks. Another 4,000 ships appeared from beyond Neptune and cut off the enemy's retreat route. Kethvar stared at his tactical display in shock. Where there had been empty space moments before, now showed over 9,000 human warships converging on his fleet from multiple directions. How is this possible? Kethvar demanded. Our intelligence report said humanity had no deep space fleet capability. Sir, these ships are using advanced technology we have never seen before, his sensor officer replied with panic in his voice. They appear to be modified versions of our own vessel designs, but with significant improvements. Captain Yujin led Fleet Alpha's attack on the Dominion rear guard. Her ships used weapons that combined human innovation with captured alien technology. The result was firepower that exceeded anything the Dominion had expected from a primitive species. All ships, target their command vessels first, Yujin ordered. Cut off their coordination and communications. The human fleets attacked using tactics learned from 20 years of studying Dominion weaknesses. Instead of engaging in direct ship-to-ship combat, they targeted specific systems to disable enemy vessels without destroying them completely. The Battle of the Solar System became the largest space engagement in galactic history. Over 100,000 ships fought across billions of kilometers of space, from Mercury's orbit to beyond Pluto. But the humans had several crucial advantages. They were fighting in their home system and knew every asteroid, moon, and gravitational anomaly. Their ships were faster and more maneuverable than Dominion vessels. Most importantly, their commanders could adapt and improvise while enemy officers could only follow predetermined tactics. Sir, we are taking heavy casualties across all formations, Kethvar's fleet coordinator reported. The humans are using three-dimensional battle tactics we have never encountered. Kethvar watched his perfect formations disintegrate under human attacks that came from above, below, and every angle simultaneously. His ships had been designed to fight enemies that approached in organized formations, not swarming attacks from multiple directions. All ships, fall back to defensive positions, Kethvar ordered, but there were no defensive positions in the vast emptiness of space. The humans had surrounded his fleet and were attacking from everywhere at once. Admiral Kehoe coordinated the battle from Earth's command center, watching as 20 years of preparation finally paid off. The Dominion had brought their largest fleet to destroy one world, only to discover they were fighting an entire civilization that had been hiding its true strength. Namsu, what is our casualty report? Kehoe asked. Sir, we have lost approximately 400 ships, Namsu replied. The enemy has lost over 30,000 vessels and counting. The battle raged for 6 hours before Kethvar finally accepted the impossible truth. His massive fleet was being systematically destroyed by an enemy that should not have been able to resist even his smallest squadrons. Prepare for emergency retreat, Kethvar ordered reluctantly. But as his surviving ships tried to escape, they discovered that the humans had planned for this as well. Every exit route from the solar system was blocked by human forces. The HFY, species that the Dominion had dismissed as primitive, had just surrounded and defeated the largest military force in galactic history, and this was only the beginning of humanity's real war against the galaxy's oppressors. Supreme Admiral Kethvar sat in the emergency command bunker aboard his crippled flagship as human forces surrounded the remnants of his once mighty fleet. Through the damaged viewports, he could see the wreckage of thousands of Dominion ships floating in the cold darkness of space. The largest military force ever assembled in galactic history had been systematically destroyed by a species the Dominion had dismissed as primitive barbarians. Of the 100,000 ships that had entered the Sol system, fewer than 8,000 remained capable of combat. "Sir, the humans are broadcasting a message on all frequencies," his communications officer reported with defeat in his voice. "Put it through," Kethvar said quietly. Admiral Kehoe appeared on the main screen, standing in the same command center where this war had begun. Behind him, human officers worked calmly at their stations as if the greatest space battle in history had been just another day's work. "Supreme Admiral Kethvar," Kehoe said respectfully, "I am Admiral Kehoe of the Terran Defense Force. Your fleet has been defeated, but we are prepared to discuss terms for the survival of your remaining crews." Kethvar felt ancient and tired. In over 1,000 years of military service, he had never imagined this moment could exist. "What are your terms, human?" Kethvar asked. "Unconditional surrender of all Dominion forces in this system," Kehoe replied. "Your surviving ships will be escorted to neutral space. Your crews will be repatriated to Dominion territory with a message for your leadership." "What message?" Kehoe's expression became stern but not cruel. "That the age of Dominion conquest is over. Any future attacks on human space or our allies will result in the complete destruction of your empire." Kethvar understood that this was not an empty threat. The humans had just demonstrated they possessed the military capability to make good on such promises. Major Sojin commanded the liberation fleets that were already spreading throughout former Dominion space. While the main battle raged in the Sol system, human forces had launched coordinated attacks on Dominion installations across dozens of star systems. Sojin was 34 years old and had trained specifically for this moment. Her mission was not conquest but liberation, a concept that most galactic species had never experienced. "Status report on Operation Freedom," Sojin requested from her flagship. "Ma'am, we have successfully liberated 47 worlds in the past week," her intelligence officer reported. "Local populations are cooperating fully. Most species are eager to join the liberation effort." The human strategy was completely different from anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of conquering defeated enemies, humans offered them freedom and alliance. Instead of demanding tribute, they provided technology and assistance. On the former Dominion world of Kepler 442b, the local population had welcomed human liberators as heroes. For the first time in centuries, they were allowed to govern themselves and develop their own technology. Dr. Yon Su established the Galactic Liberation Council on a space station in neutral territory. She was 47 years old and had spent her career studying political systems and diplomatic relations. Her job was to help former Dominion subjects learn how to live as free species. The concept of democracy is difficult for species that have lived under authoritarian rule for generations, Dr. Yansu explained to her staff. "We must be patient and supportive as they learn to make their own decisions." The Liberation Council provided educational materials, technological assistance, and defensive support to any species that wanted to join the growing alliance. Unlike the Dominion's Empire of Fear, the Human Confederation was based on voluntary cooperation and mutual benefit. Within months, over 200 worlds had joined the Terran Alliance. Each species contributed their unique knowledge and capabilities to the common defense against any remaining Dominion forces. Commander Tae-hyun had been promoted to Admiral after Kehoe's retirement. At 39 years old, he represented a new generation of human leaders who had grown up knowing that humanity was part of a larger galactic community. The Dominion Council has requested a formal peace treaty. Tae-hyun reported to the Terran Senate. They are offering to recognize human independence and end all hostilities. Senator Park Min-ju, the elected representative for the Mars colonies, reviewed the proposed treaty terms. She was 45 years old and had been chosen by the colonists to represent their interests in the new galactic order. "What guarantees do we have that they will honor this treaty?" Senator Park asked. "None," Tae-hyun replied honestly. "But our intelligence suggests the Dominion is facing internal collapse. Over half their former territory has joined the liberation movement. They no longer have the military strength to threaten anyone. The Dominion's 1,000-year empire was crumbling, as subject species throughout the galaxy chose freedom over security. The human example had shown that resistance was possible, and that cooperation was more effective than conquest." Admiral Tae-hyun traveled to the former Dominion capital for the treaty signing ceremony. The once mighty seat of galactic power was now a shadow of its former self, with many government buildings abandoned and fleets recalled to defend the core worlds. War Marshal Zor-an met him at the negotiation table, looking far older than his 800 years. The alien who had once commanded fleets across the galaxy now represented a dying empire. "You have destroyed everything we built," Zor-an said bitterly. "No," Tae-hyun replied calmly. "You built an empire on fear and oppression. We simply showed the galaxy that there was a better way to live." The peace treaty was signed in a ceremony broadcast throughout the galaxy. For the first time in 1,000 years, no single power dominated space. Instead, hundreds of species worked together as equals in a voluntary alliance. 5 years after the Battle of Sol, the galaxy had been transformed completely. The Terran alliance included over 400 worlds, each governing itself according to its own traditions and values. Humans served as coordinators and advisors, but never as rulers. Captain Namgil commanded one of the new exploration fleets that were mapping unknown regions of space. He was 31 years old and represented humanity's newest role in the galaxy: explorers and diplomats rather than conquerors. "We have made contact with 3 new species in the Andromeda border region," Namgil reported to Alliance Command. "All 3 are interested in joining the Alliance after learning about our principles of freedom and cooperation." The human model of liberation and alliance was spreading beyond the old Dominion territory. Species that had never been conquered were choosing to join the alliance because they saw the benefits of cooperation over isolation. On Earth, children learned about the war as ancient history. The generation that had fought for humanity's survival was now teaching a new generation that had grown up in a galaxy where freedom was the norm rather than the exception. Admiral Kehoe, now in his 70s, served as an instructor at the Galactic Defense Academy on Luna. Students from dozens of species came to learn human military tactics and strategic thinking. The most important lesson, Kehoe told his mixed class of human and alien cadets, is that the strongest military force is not the one with the most ships or the biggest weapons. It is the one fighting for something worth defending. A young cadet from Proxima Centauri raised her hand. "Admiral, why did the Dominion never develop the same fighting spirit?" Kehoe smiled at the question. "Because they fought to conquer and control. We fought to protect and liberate. When you fight for others' freedom as well as your own, you become stronger than any empire." The final monument to the war was built in Earth orbit, visible from the surface of the home world. It honored not just human veterans but all the species that had fought for liberation. The inscription was written in over 300 languages. "Here stands a reminder that freedom is not given but earned, not inherited but defended, and not kept by the few but shared by all. In memory of those who chose to fight for tomorrow rather than accept yesterday." The galaxy had learned the most important lesson humanity had to teach: that ideas could be more powerful than any weapon, and that the desire for freedom was stronger than any empire. The Dominion still existed, but as a minor power ruling a handful of core worlds. Their age of conquest was over, replaced by an age of cooperation that stretched across the stars. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had done something far more revolutionary. They had taught the galaxy to conquer itself, one liberated world at a time, and in the vast reaches of space, new species continued to discover that they too could choose freedom over fear, cooperation over conquest, and hope over despair. The war was over, but the real victory was just beginning.